What if I told you that the best quad of 2024 has just gotten even better? What if I told you that the best quad of 2024 is available right now for as little as $42? And even better than that, in conjunction with Spydr Dynamics, we're going to give away a unique one that money can't buy, in silver, red, green, whatever colour it may be. This is the review of the Spydr Itsy Evo. This is a quad that I've been excited for months. See, when I reviewed the Itsy back at the end of the summer last year, I said that it was a brilliant tool for filming. I said that it was a great quad that was so locked in it flew better than some of my 5-inch drones. And I stand by that today. But it did have one glaring problem with it, and that was that it was only capable of running a 2S cell. The problem with a 2S cell is, although it's capable of flying outdoors, that cell will get sucked really, really quickly. It meant that the longer distances weren't necessarily as within reach as they are within some quads, and it also meant that some of the faster flying, although this quad was more than capable of doing it, was restricted to quite short flights. And I didn't mind that so much because I had something that flew better than anything else that I had. So for taking on set and for professional filming, it was a dream. But I did what any respectable FPV pilot would do. And I whinged and I complained and I moaned to Spydr Dynamics for months. And I said, make me a 3S version. And they did. Now, I'm sure it wasn't just me complaining and asking for a 3S version that made them do it. You know, my ego isn't that big just yet. But I'm glad that I did speak out, and I'm glad that I did say what I said at the time, because what we've got now is something that we could have only have dreamed of.
So you join me for the Maiden flight of the Itsy Evo. Now we've got 3S AMAX motors. This one. Now I've got relatively low rates in comparison to what I'd normally be flying. These are the rates as suggested, and the tune as suggested by Itsy. Now, I've just hit a tree.
Armed.
So to run down some of the specs, if you like, I'm not going to get too crazy detailed in this video because I don't think it needs it. But you're dealing with something now that is 40% thicker than the Itsy and 12% lighter than the Itsy. I mean, that straight away, those headline figures are wild. It's now capable of running 2 to 4S, should I say. 3S will give you between 5 and 7 minutes of cruising cinematic professional filming. A 4S version will give you around about the same, but at a much higher performance level. Mine came paired with the AMAX 1102 9000 kV motors, and AMAX and I have actually been working together for a few months with other motors for another video that I will be producing soon. So to get these at the same time was quite exciting because I could then compare the bigger motors to the smaller motors and see if what I'd discovered about AMAX was actually true across the board. And I'm happy to report that it is. See, the AMAX motors are incredibly smooth, incredibly cool, and they look incredibly nice. Paired with a frame like the Itsy Evo, the package together is incredible. Now, I'm not going to do a build video because on Spydr's website, Spydr Dynamics website, they do actually have a build video here for you to follow. So there's not much point in me doing the same thing that they've already done. It would just extend the length of this video. And ultimately, you guys are here to know, okay, this Itsy Evo, is it worth the hype? Is it worth buying? Is it worth considering? Is it for me?
So as we head out for another flight, you can see this particular day in the UK, it was foggy and it was very moist in the air, but we decided that we was going to do it anyway because ultimately quads get flown in all weathers, all conditions, and you guys want to know it's all well and good flying it in sunny California, of which I'm not in, but will it fly if I was to take it somewhere that was more humid, or if I was going to fly it near a waterfall? So we'll answer that because it's going to get quite moist later on in this flight. So as we fly around initially, we go under the tree, through the tree, back through the tree, and then we start to do sort of some loops around the edges of the field. So just a couple of circuits, and you can see now as we go over the trees that there is more and more moisture on the camera. It's building up now. There's more drops there, and it really is starting to come down. So when we started flying, it was just foggy, and now my spotter has informed me that actually it is actually raining very lightly as well. So we're in fog and it's raining lightly. Now we are using the fly spray to help protect our electronics. I would recommend either that or some conformal coating if you are going to fly when things get a little bit moist. But ultimately, will this fly in the rain, the moisture, or the freezing fog, or, you know, just a moisture, like I said, the moisture off a waterfall? And ultimately the answer, I think we can all see, is an unequivocal yes. Ultimately, it's not brilliant footage. It's not the best thing that I've ever recorded. It's not the most stunning thing that you're ever going to watch today on YouTube. But what it is a proof that the Itsy Evo will fly it. If you need to fly it and you need to capture the scene, the Itsy Evo will do it. It was also relatively calm. I think the winds were about 5 to 6 miles an hour. And the temperature was, I think, 3 above freezing. So not very warm, admittedly. And I was getting about 5 minutes with the 550 mAh LIHV 3S lava from Beta FPV packs. So another misty flight. We are going to this time fly through the tree itself, so through the branches. We also do this on a nicer day as well, but I just wanted to include this to show you that, you know, it can be done. It's not an issue. We do sort of thread it through the tree very carefully because there is lots of moisture held in those branches, and if we disturb those branches or that moisture too much, it's going to hit the quad, and sometimes it can disturb the props and potentially knock you out of the air. These are only 1.6 inch props after all, which, you know, one of our members, not here, did remind me that this thing is smaller than the Beta FPV Cetus X. And yet look at the difference in the footage that it produces. Now, that's not to say the Cetus X is bad for the job that it does. It's a great beginner quad to get you into the hobby with everything that you need. But when you consider that this quad is actually smaller, it's wild, really. We'll have a look at some comparisons, or we may have already looked at some comparisons. I don't know which way around I'm going to edit this. I will try and edit this so that we haven't already looked at them. So we will look at some comparisons shortly, maybe even after this flight, of the different sizes of quads compared to what the Itsy Evo is. But you can see, look, we threaded it through the branches without any problems at all. You know, you point this thing and you go and it will do exactly as it's told. It's not going to do anything that you don't expect. It's not going to do anything that throws you off. It really is a case of, you tell me what to do, sir, and I will follow your orders. It really is that well made and put together. And the guys over there at Spydr Dynamics really do deserve credit for this, because I've spoken to them a few times, and ultimately they're in the industry themselves, and they wanted a quad of this size to be able to fly around film sets and capture things that we're not able to capture yet. And it didn't exist. So like all good engineers and people in the world, they said, okay, well, we'll just make it ourselves. Not too dissimilar to how HD0 came about. It doesn't exist, so we're going to do it ourselves. And they've done it themselves, and they've made it themselves to their own spec. So they haven't made it to an accountant spec of, right, we need to cut corners here, and we need to avoid this. And they've made the best thing possible for them to make their jobs easier. And then they've given it us. That has to be absolutely commended and absolutely supported. It's important to note as well, I don't have an affiliate link with them. I don't want an affiliate link with them. I'm not interested in an affiliate link. They're a tiny company. I don't want to take any money off them. Affiliate links are great for bigger companies who want to know whether I perform well against
quads from the future here. And I just wanted to add a couple of points that I haven't actually added in the review. So I'm going to slide this in to over the flight footage, I think. A few points. It's 114 grams without the battery. There is a video later, but I don't actually narrate it. So I thought it was important to just raise that. It weighs less than a 5-inch battery on its own. To enter the competition to win the silver frame, you need to visit my Instagram. The link is going to be down below. You've got until the 2nd of January, where we will draw live here on YouTube. And then Spydr Dynamics will send you direct the one-of-a-kind silver coloured Itsy Evo frame. And another point to make that I haven't actually made in this video is it's incredibly durable. I've crashed it into solid concrete floors from 50 foot up in the air. Those videos I've even put on YouTube and Instagram a few weeks ago, and it still flies today. Now, if there is any vibration in any of the videos, I couldn't find my spare set of props. And I do think there was towards the end of it, because I crashed it that many times, I was flying it as hard as I possibly could. Towards the end, where I'm doing a bit more cinematic stuff and I calm down a little bit, I do think there might be a little bit of vibration in it. That is purely down, if you can see that, that is purely down to the fact that I'd actually turned Rocksteady back on instead of using gyro flow, which I'd used for the other videos, because I was running out of time to get this video out, and I think I had a bit of a dodgy propeller. I've actually lost that propeller because I crashed after I said I was going to calm it down a little bit, and now I don't have any spares. So I've ordered some, but obviously it's New Year and it's going to take ages to come, and I needed to get this video out. So that's just a few points that I thought I needed to raise that I haven't necessarily brought up later on in the video. So I'm going to put them over this flight footage here. So we decided for this flight to see just how precisely we could fly. Essentially, can we point and shoot on set and get the shot we want in confidence, knowing that the Itsy Evo will be able to deliver regardless of what we ask. So the first order before we could do this was to fly the Itsy Evo around the field, just taking off the top end of that battery. As anybody knows, a fully charged battery, be it a LiPo, a LiPo, a Lion, or anything else, will always give you a little bit more at the top end. So it's important that we just knock that top end off so we've got a little bit more controllability. It's not going to make a massive difference, but it should just give us that little bit of an edge when we try and precisely thread it through the eye of a needle, and that's exactly what we do here. Now, that's a first run through the tree, and that's something we did yesterday in the fog, so it's not really an issue. But what we do as we move on is we go to tighter gaps and we try and just make it a little bit more difficult. Now, one thing you can't see here, don't be fooled by the fact that we have these beautiful blue skies. It is windy. Now, I think the prescribed weather forecast, that's a gap I've never been able to hit, by the way, and I'm sure other people probably could, but the fact that the Itsy Evo gives me the confidence to try it and do it even when the field is completely waterlogged, knowing that the chances it's probably going to make it, says a lot, not only about what it can do but what it gives you as a pilot. Now, so just circling back to what I was saying a second ago about the weather forecast and the prescribed weather, the wind was around about 5 to 6 miles an hour with gusts of about 8 to 9 miles an hour. So it wasn't anything crazy, but to do such precise maneuvers like that, for instance, even with that crosswind, this field is notorious for crosswinds. So it can look great, it can look brilliant, but as soon as you get to this tree, if you look up the hill now as we're looking, the crosswinds that come down from there and from the other side make this field a real challenge to fly. Now, for something like a 5-inch or even a 3-inch without protected props, it's not as much of an issue, but flying fixed wing and something like a Cinewhoop, which obviously the Itsy Evo is,
it can make it just a little bit more challenging. It can give it just a little bit more of a swirl with that wind. So the fact that we're able to do this, and with such little stick inputs, quite important that I've included the stick cam here, because we can see the amount of stick inputs that we're actually putting in is really, really low. It's doing everything that we're asking of it, and it's just flying really, really well. As we line it up again for probably the final time before we move to the other tree, and then we drop below the other branch. Again, such little stick inputs, and at the same time, if I was to flick around the field now, it'll do that as well. So it's a great tool for the trade. Now this is a gap, again, I've never even attempted. It's not a crazy gap, but it's just such a busy gap. And again, it was taken with ease by the Itsy Evo. And I think perhaps I even go out into the field a little bit, I'm not sure. Oh no, I decided to start sort of just flying a little bit faster around the bottom, just to show you that, yeah, sure, we can do these slow and methodical things, but it's not just about that. It can also do other crazy maneuver. Now this isn't necessarily a crazy maneuver, but instantly we switch them back to threading it through the eye of a needle, through the branches, and away you go. It really is a fantastic little quad, and I'll keep banging the drum. It's one of the best tuned flyers I think I've ever flown. So first of all, we've got it on the table, and you can see that it is absolutely dwarfed by the Radiomaster TX16S. There really is no comparison when it comes to the size differential. The thing is as well, the Radiomaster actually weighs more than the Itsy Evo, which is just wild. Now we've got it next to the Beta FPV Cetus X, which again is an analog only quad. And I think you can all agree the difference, there's nothing wrong with the Beta FPV Cetus X. It's a brilliant starter drone for people getting into the hobby. But I think we can all agree that when we compare the size of them, the Itsy Evo is punching well above its weight. And then for just a little bit of further comparison, we do a little bit of a top-down shot so that you can see, obviously, we've got smaller propellers, smaller body, smaller everything. Let's be honest. We are missing a prop from the Itsy Evo. I will explain that shortly. And then just for fun, we compare it to the brand new Hisinji Firefly. Not in the same ballpark in any way, shape or form. But again, this Itsy Evo is still smaller than it and produces footage a million times better. You know, like I said, they're not in the same ballpark. They're not the same type of quad. But it's just good sometimes to have a look at the differences of what's actually out there and, you know, what it can sort of punch against, if you like. And then finally, we compare it to the 65mm sub 250 Nimble 65. And I'm going to put some footage on screen from what a tiny whoop looks like compared to the Itsy. And I think we can all agree, yeah, the difference is astounding. Now, this is a Beta FPV Air 75, a brilliant tiny whoop for what it does, don't get me wrong, but again, although it's virtually the same size, it's not very far off the Itsy Evo. The reality is the Itsy Evo, when it comes to professional filming or even just high quality filming, wins. And then just for a bit of a laugh, because I'm always asked, well, what's it like compared to a 5-inch? Considering this flies as well as a 5-inch, and that's the size of a 5-inch, again, I think we can all agree that the Itsy Evo is really, really punching well above its weight here. And then we'll just stick all of them together for like a family photo, like a weird group family photo thing, long lost cousins, lost at birth sort of thing. Anyway. So moving on to take a look at the Itsy Evo and its prop guards, its propeller protectors. You'll need these in America to get yourself a waiver to fly around or near to people, just to make sure those props are fully encased. You can buy them separately from Itsy, or from Spydr Dynamics, should I say, and they're a really high quality nylon 3D print. It's not really something that you probably print at home. Really, really high quality, and it will allow you to fly around people. You just put them on top and then just screw them in. I haven't put them on permanently here. I've put them on just to show you what it's like with and without, purely because in the UK we actually don't need that just yet. Although there are some clients that I'm working with currently who will demand that. So the fact that I've got it makes my life 10 times easier moving forward. There was one particular nightclub who potentially wants staff and stuff, and they've said about having the props at the top protected. Obviously, it's protected at the bottom by the motors, and they would prefer it protected at the top. So yeah, that saves me any stress moving forwards. So looking at the lipos, I know Itsy and Spydr Dynamics suggest certain batteries. I thought I had the ones that they suggested. I didn't, so I tested it with these two. So the 600 mAh normal lipo from CNHL and the 550 LIHV from Beta FPV, both 3S's. Realistically, the 550 mAh will offer, because it's an LIHV, will offer slightly more capacity at a lower weight. That's ultimately what I found. So for cruising, the 600 mAh, brilliant. Give me about 5 minutes, no problems. And again, that's like an ideal time, don't get me wrong. And then the 550 gave me a little bit more. And obviously, if I'd have gone with the batteries that they said, I really did think I had them. But actually, I've got them in 2S, not 3S. And then just for a size comparison, this is a 6S battery, which is pretty much the same size as the entire Itsy Evo itself. And that 6S battery, of course, is for a 5-inch drone. I know a lot of you guys are going to know that, and you're going to be listening to me thinking, why is he telling us people this? But I'm always acutely aware that we do get a lot of newbies watching us, and I always want to sort of aim the pitch, if you like, to the people who may not necessarily know as much as you and I know. So it just makes their transition into and staying into the hobby that much easier. I know when I first started, there was jargon everywhere, and I had to stop videos and I had to Google stuff, and it made life harder. So if I can make newbies' lives easier and they stick around and become pilots and friends in the future, then that's job done, isn't it? So we're at the time of the video where we answer the eternal question of should you buy it? Now, first of all, I do want to make a massive apology. My voice probably sounded appalling in this video. I've been laid up with the flu for the past week over Christmas. It's been vile. This video, I'd promised Spydr Dynamics that I would get it out before Christmas. I didn't, as you can see from the date of the upload, purely because of how ill I've been. I've been genuinely ill. So if my voice sounds off, I do apologise. We're going to answer the question of should you buy it, and we're going to look at some pluses and some minuses. But before we do that, I just want to take a really brief pause to thank our incredible members who have been so supportive this year. Simca, James III, Phil Anderson, Not Here, Han Solo, Dizzy Dean FPV, Mark Duplex, Onlydrones and Barry Morgan FPV. If you want to join those heroes and legends, it's $1.99 a month, and you will get your name shouted out in every one of these videos. If I've not earned that from you yet, that's absolutely fine, but please do hit the bell icon on the video to make sure that you are notified every time we upload. We've had some wild and varied uploads over Christmas. They might not have been the best, but they've been something to keep you guys entertained whilst I've been dying. But I'm back alive. I've been resurrected. I am the resurrection, and I am here to serve you as the No, I need to stop. So, hit the bell icon and you'll be notified whenever we upload. The comms are coming back. I know so many of you love them, and I'm going to have to be really careful how I do that because we have sort of moved on to being a serious channel, but you know, hey ho, they're coming back. We've got RC boat reviews, we've got drone reviews, we've got helicopter reviews, we've got aeroplane reviews, we've got head tracking in RC cars. Honestly, we've got so much coming this year. It's going to be such a massive year for us, and hopefully you'll come along with us for the ride as well. Now, having a quick look at some of the notes that I've put down whilst I was testing the Itsy Evo. Some of the plus points, there probably will be more, don't get me wrong, but some of the ones that really stand out as like real selling points is obviously there's no props in view. That's something that's essential. like I say, these guys are people who realised when they was on set themselves that there wasn't a tool for them out there that they could go and buy. So they just said, well, we'll make it ourselves. And that's what this is. This is a tool made for professionals by professionals. The frame itself is $45. Now, I'll go into my build spec after this, because I do always get asked that. Some other plus points, we've got low harmonics, which means low vibrations, which means it's really, really easy to tune, which means you get a really great experience from it. And speaking of tunes, another plus point is that there's a ready-made tune on Spydr Dynamics website. You literally just have to copy and paste it, put it into your Itsy Evo, and away you go. And it will fly like you, I promise. And like, this is going to sound so salesman-esque, but as I mentioned in probably one of the previous videos, I don't have, and I'm not interested in having an affiliate link with Spydr Dynamics. That's not what I'm doing this for. It flies better than any other quad I've got. Simple as that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will perform better than any other quad I've got. It's not going to perform better than a 10-inch long range or a 5-inch freestyle, but that's not the space that it's designed to be in. It's a professional filming tool designed to get cinematic close-up and shots that you wouldn't be able to get. Can it outperform a 5-inch at speed? No, of course it can't, but can a 5-inch go onto a film set and film two actors having a conversation? No, of course it can't. So it's the right tool for the right job. It's the industry standard for professional filming. They recommend some match motors. I've been speaking to Spydr Dynamics quite closely over the months, and they've gone through so many different manufacturers of motors, and they finally matched the perfect set of motors. So the Amax 1102 9000 kV. I can't recommend Amax enough. I wasn't aware of who they were until a couple of months ago. They sent me some motors for another build. I swapped them out. I had an epiphany the other day. If you check the shorts on YouTube, there is literally a video where I'm having an epiphany because their motors have made a quad that was at the time relatively average, absolutely unbelievable. And then they've come along and they've put motors in this as well. And again, unreal. Another plus point is you've got the increased flight times over the original Itsy, which was one of my biggest bugbears. I'm not going to keep going on about it. You can get away with flying the original Itsy outside. You can fly it in winds, but you're always going to be fighting against those 2 SLs. We don't have that issue anymore. 3 SLs are a different ball game. I'm more than happy. You've got an optional fan for a naked 03. And obviously the optional prop guards that we spoke about earlier as well, which will allow you to get a waiver for flying around over close to people in certain countries. Certain countries don't need it. But like I said, although we don't need it in the UK, there are plenty of clients, health and safety people who say, although it's not a legal requirement, we want you to have this. So it's always good to be able to rely on having something that you've got there. And obviously the fan for the Naked 03, Spydr Dynamics will also sell you one of those as well. Again, it's Spydr Dynamics branded, so it's all on point. It looks lovely, and it will slot perfectly in and keep your Naked 03 lovely and cool. For some reason, Flywheel are not selling Naked 03s right now, and I don't know why, because like I've literally got a hole in my pocket, burning money through it, and I'm desperate to buy a Naked 03, and Flywheel won't sell me one. Maybe they just don't like me anymore. So I think that's the main point of the positives. Obviously it's under 250 grams. We've done that. It's small, it's lightweight. The other thing is it's really quiet as well. So last year when I was on holiday, the holiday park I was at had a fun fair. The fun fair didn't open until 9 o'clock. So I went out and got a coffee at about 7 o'clock in the morning. There was nobody about, but there was loads of caravans. So it was like, oh, should I do it? Shouldn't I? And I had the Itsy Evo with me. Because it was so quiet, even at that time of the morning, I was able to fly around this, essentially what was an abandoned fun fair at the time. But with workers like getting ready for the day and people in caravans, nobody noticed Like, nobody batted an eyelid. So it's really discreet as well. You know, we've compared the original Itsy against the DJI Neo, which again is probably something that it's relatively pitched and matched against. And the noise of the Neo is just ludicrous in comparison. And in all honesty, the only real negative, and we always look for a negative wherever we can because it's only fair. The only real negative I can find now, apart from my voice and being congested and bunged up, is the fact that there's no bind and fly option. Now, that may well come in the future. I know that with the Itsy original, they did do sort of plug and play versions, which would be fine for a newbie. At the moment, I believe they're only selling frame kits. Now, they're selling out instantly, as they should. So, you know, if you want one and you see it's in stock, do grab it straight away because it is going to go. And although they're restocking as quick as they can, these things are flying out of the door. So just bear that in mind. So I think the only real negative thing, you know, for you and I, who sit here as experienced pilots, it's not a massive issue. But my friend, as an example, although he can fly FPV, he wouldn't know how to build an FPV, you know. And I know it's easy and we do sometimes get stuck in the rut of saying, oh, well, if you're flying, you're going to need to learn to fix. And so you might as well learn to... It's not always that simple, to be fair. So it's a long, convoluted way of saying the only real negative I can find is the fact that there isn't a bind and fly version. That is... I mean, if that's the worst thing about your entire product, then realistically, I think you've probably won the conversation of should you buy it. But we're going to move on to that anyway. And to answer the question, should you buy it? Yes. Goodbye. No. So, as always, it's the right tool for the right job, isn't it? So, if your main flying is you're in a bando and you're going to be smashing against walls and you're going to be doing, you know, full throttle punches and dives and things, the Itsy can do freestyle. The Itsy can do quite impressive stuff on 4S. But you wouldn't want to smash it around a bando. So if that's your main point of flying, possibly the Itsy Evo isn't something that you would want to buy. However, if you like any type of cinematic filming whatsoever, then click on the link down below and go buy yourself one. But do it quick, because these things are selling like hot croissants. I tried to be funny, probably didn't work, but there you go. So yeah, no, genuinely, these things really are selling fast. There really isn't any negative. If you are the target audience for this and you're thinking, should I, shouldn't I? I think the only other thing, actually, before I finish this video, to point out is I do get asked all the time, should I buy an Itsy Evo if I've got an Itsy? To answer that question is dead simple. What type of flying do you do? Do you only fly inside? In which case, you probably don't need the Itsy Evo. If you do any form of mixed flying, indoors and out, or just outdoors, you will have a much better experience with the Itsy Evo. That doesn't mean that the Itsy can't do it. It doesn't mean that the Itsy is bad. It isn't. But that's the one thing that I would just caution a tale at for anybody who's looking to upgrade. Now, speaking of upgrading, I think the final point I've got to make is Spydr Dynamics and I have been talking about the 04. The DJI 04 is coming out on, I believe, the 25th of January. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that. Anyway, Spydr Dynamics have done a mock-up of what it is, and they are actively working on whether or not they can make it natively fit to the Itsy Evo frame. I can't say too much more than that, other than as soon as we know more, you will. And ultimately, if it does fit and you don't need anything to change, any hardware changes, you're going to have a really versatile quad that'll do walk snail, 03, 04, whilst producing industry standard footage. All for the price of $45. of under $45. That to me sounds like an absolute bargain. Go and grab yourselves ones. Happy New Year, everybody. Hopefully I'll get another video out before the new year. I probably won't, so I'm going to wish you all New Year. Happy New Year. Happy and safe New Year now. And I will speak to you in 2025. I hope you've had a great time this year on the channel. I hope to see you back. And if you can't wait for a new video to get your fix of some more crazy FPV drone flying, then click on this video in the end screen right now.